welcome back to the channel, 40k enthusiasts, where today I'm going to take you on a journey through my Black Templars army, the one that's running the Iron Hand, so the Iron Storm Spearhead. I'm going to tell you about all the different units that are in here. I'm going to go over what they do, and kind of just explain how this list works. So if you like that kind of content, be sure to thunderhammer that like button, subscribe to Theory Hammer, leave a comment down below, check out our other videos, smash Noble's bell icon, do all that YouTube stuff. So I am playing a Black Templar army with an Iron Storm Spearhead detachment. So I'm going to be able to reroll a hit, a wound, or damage roll for each one of these units. And as you can tell, there are quite a few of them indeed. That was intentional. I just wanted to put bodies on the table, have a ton of different units. Black Templars have some pretty efficient units like the Crusaders, so I took a bunch of them, and I'll kind of explain why I built the list the way that I did. So the first thing that you guys notice is I have 3 squads of scouts. I love the scouts. They get me secondaries, they infiltrate up, they can scout. Yeah, they're really, really good. They're 65 points. So each one of these squads has the heavy bolter, the sniper rifle, the sergeant has a chainsword. They're not finished yet, but one day they will be. There is a pile of shame larger than this entire house that I need to paint. So one of those days I'll get to it, but we got 3 units of scouts. They're very, very good, and these I'm going to use to get me my secondaries, because they can jump off the table as long as they're not within 6 inches of an enemy unit. They go up, they come back down the next turn, and that's how that shit works. These are really, really good. You guys should probably take 2 units or more of these, because they will be getting you points almost every single turn. 3 of them, and then we have an assassin back here. She's going to be getting me my secondaries as well. She's also really good. I mean, she has infiltrate, she's a lone op, she's got a sword, she's got a shooty gun flamer thing, but she's mainly there to just get me points. She does that every single turn. She just jumps up and off the table, and she's really, really good as well. So that's my secondary stuff. The rest of the stuff in this army is meant to just take objectives and do cool things. As you can tell, I've got a lot of regular little Marines going on here. So what I've done is I've taken 5 units. That's right, 5. I've taken 5 units of Crusaders. Each of these units has a multi-melta. It looks like a grav gun, but it's actually a multi-melta. It's very heretical stuff going on here. This is very weird stuff. So then we have 2 chainswords. The black one's the sergeant. The guy with the little candle on him is going to be our special weapon. The special weapon I've chosen is going to be a melta-gun. And then the sergeant himself, he's got a thunderhammer and a fusion pistol thing, an inferno pistol. So we've got 5 units, all kitted out the same. That one's actually rocking the thunderhammer there. So they're all the same. The reason why I took so many of these is because with the Iron Storm Spearhead, they are very efficient units. They get to reroll a hit, reroll a wound, reroll a damage roll. Then not all 3, but you get to pick one of those. And that's really good with Oath of Moment. A couple of these multi-meltas will actually put some damage on stuff pretty quickly when they can reroll the damage roll and the wound roll. And each one of these units being able to do it, shooting, combat, anytime. Anytime that they go to make an attack, they get to reroll a hit, a wound, or a damage roll. So I've decided I want to flood the board with bodies. And that's what it does. This army just, it takes up the whole table when I deploy. It's kind of insane. So we have nowhere for my opponent to deep strike. You know, there's a unit of Crusaders there. There's a unit of Crusaders in there. There's a unit of Crusaders here. There's tanks everywhere. There's dreadnoughts. You just can't get to any. You can't get in here unless you have a deep strike within 3 inches stratagem. So having all these bodies, it forces my opponent to deep strike in the middle of the table, which is where I want them deep striking. They can deep strike on my terms, and that's really nice to have. So 5 units plus 3 units of scouts, it's a lot of bodies to have on the table. Not extremely durable, but you know, when you've got this many, you've got all these walls, you can do some pretty cool stuff. So the 5 units of Crusaders, these are awesome for multiple reasons. They're 75 points for these things. They're 10 points more than a scout squad, which scouts are scouts are crazy. 75 points for each of these units though. 2 chainsword with 4 attacks. A multi-melta, a melta-gun, another melta pistol and a thunderhammer, or a power fist if you like. So this unit re-rolls its charges and its advance rolls. So it can move up with these dreadnoughts and kind of stay with them, which I'll get to why they are moving around real quick in a second, which you can probably guess. But it allows the Crusader squads to move up the table with the dreadnoughts, or if they need to try to get to some objectives quickly, they can just reroll their advance roll. If you roll poorly, you can kind of shore it up with that reroll. So aside from the 5 units of them, we have 3 Redemptor dreadnoughts. I love these things. 2-up save, -1 damage, like plasma gun that kills everything. 5 attacks in combat, strength 12, only AP 2, which is not great, but flat 3 damage, and because they're in the Iron Storm, they're going to be rerolling a hit, a wound. Damage roll doesn't matter for them, but they can also reroll a damage roll if they want to. So these things are super durable. They are also going to be running around in the center with advance and shoot and fall back and shoot. And that is from our little lieutenant guy here. So he has the, oh man, Master of Machine War or something like that. I forget what it's called. There's too many of them. There's too many enhancements and I read too many words. But he's got the 6-inch aura of that. So he can let things advance and shoot or fall back and shoot. Mr. Tech Marine over here, Mr. Warlord Tech Marine. This guy has the target augury web. This is a 6-inch aura of lethal hits for all my vehicles. So all these dreadnoughts, lethal hits on all their guns. I think it's in combat as well. The tanks as well, these Lancers, all getting lethal hits. And so yeah, 3 Lancers, Gladiator Lancers. They got the lasers, they got the missile pod, they got a multi-melta, they got frag storms, they got all kinds of cool stuff on there. These things are absolute all-stars. These tanks kill anything they shoot at. They're like a hammerhead. So they reroll a hit, they reroll a wound, and they reroll a damage. That's their datasheet ability. They do all 3 of those things, plus they get the reroll hit, wound, or damage from the Iron Storm detachment as well. So these things are extremely reliable. They're very independent, and they can kind of just shoot and kill whatever they want. You can have them literally back here, like here, you know, being able to see up the table, or on the other side here, being able to see up the table. And they'll just shoot across the table with this laser beam, reroll a hit and a wound and a damage, and it's gonna just kill something. So I love these things. They're 165 points. You can give them lethal hits with this guy. You can give them fall back and shoot and charge. This guy's the lethal hits guy. Fall back and shoot and charge from the lieutenant. So these things are super duper good. And usually where these things are is kind of right where they're sitting, actually. They're usually sitting about here or over here, seeing down these different firing lanes depending on how the terrain is set up. So I love them. They will go toe-to-toe with other vehicles that don't have an invuln and just one-shot them, usually. Especially with that reroll to wound. It's just so good. That laser getting reroll to wound is very, very nice. And then you have Oath of Moment if you want to add that in there as well. So I talked about the characters as well. So you got the Tech Marine and these auras that they have and the Lieutenant. These auras, they're gigantic. A 6-inch aura of advance and fall back and shoot. Let me just show you how big that is. You have this guy here. You know, this guy's probably next to him. So you have this guy here. These are on the bottom level. This is a 6-inch aura. It's gigantic, okay? It's huge. So yeah, you got a 6-inch aura of advance and shoot or fall back and shoot. I don't know if I said charge at any point. If I did, you can't advance and charge. It's just advance and shoot or fall back and shoot. So you have your characters kind of chilling in this terrain piece. These dreadnoughts are really nice because they can bully your opponent up in the middle because they're very, very durable. They're very difficult to kill. You know, Armor of Contempt is a stratagem that you have. That's pretty good. -1 to the opponent's OC. I'm in cover and I'm 2-up save with -1 damage. Just getting through one of them is difficult, and there's 3 of them here, and they shoot really hard. These plasma cannons being strength 9, you know, D6 +1 shots, 3 damage apiece. I think they're AP 4 as well, pretty sure. So that's cool. They'll melt through stuff, and you've got a couple of other stratagems that you can use on them, such as Mercy is weakness, which is where if an enemy unit has wounds taken on it, you pick one of these guys, and then they get sustained hits as well, and they crit on 5-ups. So you combine that with Mr. Tech Marine, now you have lethals and sustained on 5-ups. And if you have Oath of the Moment on your target, that starts becoming pretty silly pretty quickly. And that's just one dreadnought. There's a ton of guns in this army. These things actually shoot pretty well. These little units of... Where did my sergeant go for this unit? Did I steal the wrong guy? I totally stole the wrong guy here. So these little units, having these extra multi-meltas all over the table that can each reroll a hit, wound, or damage, like the space these bodies take up, these are really nice to have. This is mainly a shooting army. And so the reason I like the dreadnoughts so much is because they add that extra bit of punch to the army. It's kind of hard to kill them, so, you know, if you get into combat with the right thing, usually you can kind of go toe-to-toe with it, even though they're not super duper good in combat. Only 5 attacks, you know, strength 12, 3 damage each. They're okay, but they're not like absolutely ridiculous. So just having the extra attacks though allows them to kind of help and support all the infantry that are moving up and to protect the tanks that are behind them. So I really, really like the dreadnoughts in this army. They really add a lot of push to allow me to get to the center. And then the rest of the stuff that's here just takes up my backfield. I can spread it out. You know, you can't be with a 9 here, can't be with a 9 there. You can spread a bunch of stuff out and just force your opponent to deep strike in the center, where your dreadnoughts are, where your lancers can see them, where all your guys are chilling on objectives. These are 2 OC apiece. Each of these guys, each of these 25 Marines, they're 2 OC. So that's 50 OC right there. That's a lot. And a lot of people probably don't have that much in their army to begin with. What I will normally do is deploy one of these units kind of up here with my lieutenant. I'll deploy one kind of back here near your objective, or over here, depending. But you have one here, one there, one there. And the other 2, maybe you probably just like kind of move them up here. The tanks usually kind of start behind terrain, depending if I need to get line of sight to certain areas. And the dreadnoughts usually chill kind of behind this piece of terrain here. And then the characters are usually behind them. Tech Marine might start a little further back. The Lieutenant might start a little further up. It just depends how I feel that day. And you have all of these bodies. These guys reroll their advance roll, keeping up with the dreadnoughts that are getting to the center, tank support in the back. It's a very classic kind of military strategy where you have infantry with tanks, you got backfield support, all kinds of cool stuff you can do. And then you have the assassin and the scouts who are able to jump up and down doing my secondaries, and if they're not doing my secondaries, they're usually chilling in the backfield as well, which allows even more of my infantry to push up. So that is pretty much how the army plays. Put a bunch of infantry in their face and a bunch of tanks and a bunch of dreadnoughts and just go to town. And I really, really enjoy the fact that I have auras. I miss auras. I've been playing this game since 4th edition technically, but 5th edition competitively, and auras are my favorite thing. So being able to just be like, whoa, 6 inches, everything has advance, fall back, and shoot within that range, which is like literally everything basically. So, hey, Frito-Lay, not sponsored. Yeah, so these auras are really, really nice to have, and the fact that these guys are lone ops, I can play differently than I would normally in this edition with that, and so I really like that aspect of it. I just like the way the army plays. I typically don't keep anything in reserve. I have before, it kind of bit me in the ass, but I like just taking up as much space as possible, just taking up the entire table and being like, you know what, fuck you. So the thing that's kind of annoying about it though is there's so many units. You have 5 units of Space Marines, you have 3 dreadnoughts, which is 8, you then have the 3 tanks, which is 11, the 2 characters, which is 13. If these things are on the table, then you got a lot of units. So being able to move all this stuff efficiently, it takes some getting used to. Because if you're not used to playing an army with a whole bunch of different units, then you might have a little bit of a slow time. And if you're playing in a tournament, you want to make sure that you can pick it up a little bit. So that's something that I struggled with, for sure, with this army. And just like big armies in general, because I'm not really the type of player that likes to play with a lot of bodies, like Imperial Guard with a ton of guys and shit like that. So it's something you do have to get used to, but otherwise, there's not really too many drawbacks personally that I have with it. I really like the way that it plays. I like how these units can move block a bunch of stuff, and your dreadnoughts can just be super durable in the middle, and you can really just play the game well with it. The tanks don't have to commit too much. You can kind of literally have them back here depending on how aggressive your opponent's being, staying around the characters, and I really like the way that it plays there. So, and also being able to just force my opponent into the middle of the table for all their deep striking or all their reserves. that's pretty good. Unless they have like a deep strike within 3 or something, then that's a little bit different. So overall, I think I would just say the army has a mosaic of different things, and it has a lot of different options. Some of the stratagems that are really good, like I said, the exploding 5-ups crits, that's just super good. There's also one where if your vehicle, usually on these, if someone takes it below half wounds or half damage or whatever, they do more than 6 wounds to it, it can just shoot back at them for free for 1 CP. That's a really good strat as well. You can also do Vengeful Animus, which is just explode automatically. So you've got some really good stratagems that you can do with this list. I use the shoot back one as often as possible, and it really catches people off guard. And I tell them about it before. I'm like, I do have a stratagem where I can shoot back, and they're like, well, you can't avoid shooting these things. You got to try to kill them. So if you don't get through them quite, then I can shoot back at you, and that's a lot of fun for me. All these little infantry units being 2 OC, coming up with the dreadnoughts and being able to take up all that space is really nice to have. It forces your opponent to have to deal with a lot of different kinds of units and a lot of different targets all at once, and a lot of armies really can't do that. I think that pretty much covers everything. If you guys liked this video, be sure to thunderhammer the like button, subscribe to Theory Hammer, leave a comment down below, hit Nurgle's bell icon, and check out our other videos as well. We got all kinds of content. I make content all the time. It's a lot of fun, it's very enjoyable, so if you want to leave a like, feel free to do so. I think the next list video that I'm going to do is going to be the Tau, because we just got the Tau Codex, and that shit's poppin'. I'm going to go now cry because I have to paint all these models for the next tournament, and I'll see you guys in the next one.